Final Fantasy VII. So what I'm going to be doing is periodically over the game, we're going to have a discussion. I'm thinking basically this will be for after Midgar, and we'll do Disc 1, Disc 2, and well, I don't know. We'll definitely do one after this one. I'm not sure because Disc 3 is really just like the final dungeon. So I'll figure out how to do it from there. But ideally, I'll just chat with subscribers who have been watching the Let's Plays. And so this time, we have Death Bellows. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Alright, so I don't have a complete format for this. I think we could just talk about the plot in general, then we can talk about the characters and anything else that comes along the way. And we'll try for that at first. So, I think we're both in a similar boat here. I played the game, I have to actually think about it, like 16, 17 years ago. And I played it like once, maybe 1.5 times, actually. I do remember getting like to Nibelheim on a second playthrough and then stopping.
Yeah, it's the same here. It's been like 16 to 20 years ago, and I also only played it once. And I played it after 8, 9, and 10.
Okay.
So I don't have it like in my... It's not a nostalgia game for me, though.
Yeah, it's a bit of a nostalgia game for me. I would say the difference is that I played the remake and watched some theory videos. So I'm a little bit more familiar with the plot in terms of my memory. Now, let's see. So, at least for the Midgar section, how would you say it compares to your memory of it? And what did you remember of it at first?
So, I mean, it started off in the middle of the action. So, I remember that pretty much. And I've probably seen some videos about that at some time on YouTube. So the first battle in the reactor, that's... I pretty much knew the whole thing. But basically from the part with the... in the slums where you dress up as a girl and towards the Shinra headquarters, I didn't really remember any of that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I remember there be some explosion in the slums and stuff. And infiltrating the headquarters, but I didn't remember like the reasons for it and all that stuff. Oh, and of course I remember the escape at the end with the bike and all that.
Yeah, everybody remembers the motorcycle moment. I would say I remember most of it in the sense that I didn't remember like all the details of the set pieces because, of course, you have the PlayStation 1 signature pre-rendered backgrounds in this game, and the sprites are something different. And that's kind of how they were able to get away with such intricate backgrounds back in the day. It's gone the way of the dodo, sadly. I think they're really beautiful even today. But I mostly remember the soundtrack. I listened to the soundtrack a bunch of times. It's kind of generic to say that a Final Fantasy game has a 10 out of 10 soundtrack, but that's certainly the case here. Because, people have just come to expect it. So it's like not even something people consider when thinking, is this a good game or not? But I think it's something that I need to point out pretty frequently. Because of course, a fantastic score. You have I think it's Nobuo Uematsu does all the composing.
Yes.
He's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, he's absolutely brilliant. One of my favorites. And I guess I kind of remember... Well, I remember that like Cloud is kind of a goofball. He's even more of a goofball than I remember. I remember Barrett's passion. And, well, we'll get into Aerith later. She's like a big spoiler character. Like all the spoilers are about her. But yeah, I was able to kind of get back into it fairly quick. It's not like I remember everything word for word, and certainly the translation I'm using is far superior to the one that we got, which is made by one guy in like 2 or 3 weeks. Oh man. Yeah, but this is significantly better translation. I guess I came in with the expectation that I remember having a lot of problems when I played this when I was younger, as the sprites that they use for the character models. I remember really hating them, and that thinking that they really detracted from the game. And I thought it was annoying that on the pre-rendered backgrounds you have to press the select button to have the arrow come over your character, and you see the red triangles that show you, okay, this is how you actually exit the map, because it's not always apparent. But this time playing it over, I don't really get the same vibe. I think the little sprites are extremely hilarious and expressive, and it's kind of like an actor would do in a play. Like, they overemphasize every action to get the thought across. And I think the limitations actually add to the experience.
Interesting. Like, I played 8 and 9 before I played 7.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember playing it, like, okay, these guys are really short, and they have no, most of them, like, you don't see anything there. But compared to 8, like, 8 looks really superior in the sprite department.
Oh yeah, no question.
But I mean, I guess it has some kind of charm.
Yeah. So it's interesting. A lot of people say that Final Fantasy VII is the best RPG ever made, and it's their favorite game, the best of all time. And my memory of FF7 was that it was extremely good, but it's kind of a goofy game. And what do I mean by this? Well, I can't say everything because we're only from Midgar, but I'm going to bring this up. But, like, you know, it's like Cloud having a ton of bravado. He's constantly, like, posing like a cool guy. And he's really just kind of this dork. And you have, like, these little mini games that, like, you probably wouldn't be able to get away with today. I'm not even sure if I can talk about it. Like, in the most, like, direct terms. That's, like, there's a lot of implication in the slum. You gotta get the dress parts of the game. Where it's like, is this really a teen-rated game? I found myself saying a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that you wouldn't get in a Western game for sure. It really feels like this is from Japan, so.
Yep. And there's also, little goofy bits here and there, like, especially with the Turks in particular. Like, whenever they appear, like, I don't know how to explain it, but the game has a lot of comedic stuff in it that older RPGs had. That I think Final Fantasy is especially egregious about this, but it's gotten a lot more serious, and like everybody's dour all the time, and the games are a lot less funny. There's a lot less levity, I would say, in a Final Fantasy game now than there was in the past, and I think Final Fantasy VII is like the beginning of that. I mean, FF6 certainly is a very serious game, but I don't quite know how to describe it. I think as gaming has gone more and more towards 3D, like, games have gotten more serious.
Like, I haven't played any Final Fantasy past 12. I don't know about the new ones. But yeah, there's also goofy moments in like 7, 8, and 9. But like, I don't think it detracts too much from the overall thing, though. It just sometimes when you have a serious scene, they do something really stupid, which kind of brings me out of it. But
and FF7 is kind of like it's one or the other. They typically don't intermingle the two, unless Yuffie's on the screen. But that's kind of her dig. So, I mean, I can't really blame her for that.
I remember when I had to fight her to get into the city or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember she has a pinwheel or something, but I don't remember anything else about her. That's gonna be interesting when you see her again.
Yeah. I don't know if you want slight spoilers or not, because I've, of course, recorded a number of episodes after Midgar by this point. And you kind of decide when you want to get Yuffie, because she's, of course, a missable character, which is not the case in the remake. I'll get to that way later, though.
I mean, the thing is, like, I played Final Fantasy VII,
Mm-hmm.
and I know some key scenes and some moments and stuff. But I couldn't tell you when it happens. Like, I can't tell you when Disc 1 ends. I have no idea.
I know when it ends.
But like I can't tell you if Gold Sorcerer is the Disc 1 or Disc 2 or where it is. Like, I will never be able to get that, but...
Fair enough. Okay, so I've been trying my best throughout the Let's Play to not be particularly spoilery. I don't know who else is watching it, but that's kind of my general jam. And I started voice acting more recently just because I'm having fun with it. Let's see. So, about the plot in general. So, Final Fantasy VII is a kind of a really strange game. I can't go too far into this now. I can't even tell you what the themes of the game are. Like, I don't know how much you remember. But, like, the game has very clear theming. One of the themes is that something... Okay, well, I'm going to talk about it as if you had only the knowledge of what is in Midgar. But basically, something's kind of up with Cloud. Like, for example, when he's in the reactor, like, you have this beginning... it's what the demo was before they released the game. And, you have this big kind of, like, action-packed... terrorists going to the reactor, and everything's introduced. The prime conflict is introduced, and when you get down there, there's like a voice in Cloud's head, and it has like very distinct font and everything. And so immediately you kind of know that something's up with Cloud from the very beginning, and he's the only one who hears it.
Well, I mean, we don't know that he was a soldier.
Yes.
That was told us at some point.
Yeah, so he's been introduced to something called Mako energy, which is like the lifeblood of the planet that they use to get energy and make magic materia artificially. And so his eyes glow blue, like a deep sense of blue, because of his exposure to this.
But before we know about this, like one could assume it's like PTSD or something.
Yes.
He's seen in war and stuff.
Yeah.
Like we don't really get to know much about what, at least not yet, what he's done and stuff. So.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like there's different implications of things it can be.
And I would say in general, the game's very cinematic. I'm not very well versed in film theory. I know some. But basically the game is kind of set up like, of course you have your pre-rendered backgrounds, and then you have like these little mini games for points of levity, and then everything is kind of like it's part of a movie, like especially in the battle system. Now we can talk about the battle system in a bit, but just notice that like all these different attacks, particularly for the enemies, you'll have like the camera pan in different places on the map, which sometimes can get really annoying because then you have to just sit there and wait every time the enemy attacks. But they were really going for like a very cinematic vibe. This is like the first, well, it's not the first 3D RPG, but it's like the first like AAA big one. And you can really kind of see it here. They're doing a lot of experimentation with that.
I mean, you can also see this with the opening mission. Like, you kind of start in the middle of the action.
Yeah.
And like, you don't get introduction. You just, like, hey, I'm Cloud, and basically you're gonna fight people.
Yeah.
So,
it's not the typical RPG. Like, there's a lot of RPGs where it's like, you're in the beginning town, and you get to know people, and then the town gets burned down. Like, that's pretty common for an RPG start. Or you start and you have some sort of like special sacred mission that you have to do. Or you have to prove yourself because you're becoming an adult. Those are like pretty typical RPG starts, I would say.
Yeah, and a lot of times in RPGs, because they have to basically tell the player what's going on. A lot of times the main character has amnesia or is into a new world or something, so they basically have an excuse to basically telling what things. Because why would people tell the main character a lot of things that he already knows? It doesn't make any sense. Like if he's lived in this town for like 16 years, he would know all of this stuff, and there wouldn't be any reason to tell him. So.
Yeah, this isn't really related, but I read one of the first fiction books that used amnesia as a plot device. It's called the Amber series. It's fairly popular, but probably not outside the U.S. But it's an old classic where they use magic trump cards, and there's like the royal family, and the main character Corwin, he has amnesia.
I mean, like, it really works, and they use it in Final Fantasy X, so...
Yeah.
They also used it a bit in 8, actually. So. I mean, it works, so, Yeah.
Okay, and so I was kind of surprised because you blow up the reactor and you go back and you kind of just see how big of a shithole they're living in the Sector 7 slums, and you get to kind of know the characters. I'm not sure if we should do this in sequence or if I should do plot then characters. It's always kind of difficult for me to differentiate that. But pretty much it's like you destroy the first reactor, you destroy the second reactor, and then you get involved with Aerith. And in getting involved with Aerith, you end up going to the Shinra HQ, where you learn that there's you kind of get to learn what Shinra's true objectives are. And during that process, Cloud's past begins to start showing itself, and there's this guy named Sephiroth, and he's somehow involved in all of this.
Yeah, actually, when I watched this, I knew about Sephiroth, but I forgot that he got introduced so early.
Yeah, so I mentioned this in I think episode 6, but Sephiroth was originally conceived based off Jaws, the popular American movie about the shark. So the idea is Sephiroth, you're getting rumors about him at first in the game when he's first mentioned, and then gradually and slowly but surely, you see the trail of what he leaves in his wake. So in the Shinra HQ, for example, there's a literal blood trail that you have to follow in order to get to where he was, where he's killed the president. And I think it's really effective. I like it a lot. I don't think the villain necessarily has to constantly show up to be a threat. And I think Final Fantasy VII does it better than any other RPG I can think of, actually.
I mean, Final Fantasy has that tendency to basically introduce the villain and make him have some speech about the futility of life or something, and then fight the party.
Yep.
And they just bugger off for a disc or two, and then come back and do some stuff.
Yeah. In this case, it's a lot more complicated than that, and we're going to really get into that, I think. But there's a reason why it's done in this particular way in this game, and I'm just going to leave it at that for now. Let's see, plot-wise, did anything stick out to you in terms of, it was really different than what you remembered and how they handled it?
Shinra is actually really competent.
Yeah, so tell me a little more about that. I know you commented on my video about that.
Because Shinra is the evil company that just,
Yeah, literally their main name means something like death. It's very, on the nose.
Yeah, but they're shown to be really smart. Because, obviously they knew about Avalanche for a while.
Mm-hmm.
and and once they blow the first reactor up, they basically increase the security and then figure out where they do the whole thing on the train.
Mm-hmm.
With the ID scanning stuff.
Yeah.
And once they figure out where they're gonna strike, they basically ambush them, which makes sense.
Yeah. And not only that, but anything bad that happens, they can just blame on Avalanche. So.
Yeah, because Avalanche is probably not the only terrorist organization in Midgard, I guess. But since they basically can do this whole thing with Plate 7 and blame it on Avalanche, they basically get to root out all the would-be terrorists, basically make sure that they'll have no support from the populace anymore. And basically, come in as the saviors and, look like the good guys.
Yeah.
And by doing that, they can put even more restrictions on the populace, which is... It's a really great plan. It's... Yeah. I can't really complain about it. The only thing I can complain about is that... they are evil.
Yeah. Cartoonishly so.
They know they're evil, and they're basically patting them on the back. About
Yeah, they don't even seem to feel bad about it at all, which is kind of interesting.
No, of course they're doing this to make sure that the player knows that these are the bad guys, and we're not supposed to like them. But I think it's slightly too much. It's like they go from being really competent to they go to more cartoonish. It's like
yeah, I see what you mean. Like, I don't mind that at all, but they're just evil, and there's no. Well, there's some gray, but we'll get to that eventually. But yeah, they're just kind of evil. So they're supposed to represent the Zaibatsu, which is the Japanese corporation, which is the new god in Japan. And so that's what it's supposed to represent in the game. It's not just eco-terrorism, that's just what it is on the surface. It's that the Zaibatsu is God. So that's the theme they're going for. And that's the one theme I can talk about.
That actually makes sense then.
Yeah, and so the people destroy themselves and they destroy the planet for the Zaibatsu. And you are the slave to the Zaibatsu. And Japanese has a word for death for over the work. So that's the idea. And so I think that's why they're supposed to be so cartoonishly evil. And if that's what they're aiming for, then they've succeeded. So I don't really have an issue with it. I do think that some of the commanders are really goofy and don't feel like a threat. But at this point in the game, I can't really complain about that.
When I played this back in the day, I would probably just say, okay, we are the good guys, they are the bad guys, okay, and then move on.
Yeah.
But as I'm getting a bit older, I'm a bit more critical to writing and stuff, I guess. So.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, me too.
So yeah, it probably wasn't a problem for me before. It just looking at it now, I wish there were a bit more grey, instead of just what war crimes are we gonna do today? It's come on.
Well, I prefer this to the other kind of Final Fantasy villain. I think I'll talk more about that if I play through FF10, which I probably will. Just because it's FF10. That's the first RPG I ever played. And my introduction to the series was Final Fantasy X.
Yeah, I should, Shinra actually feels like a threat.
Absolutely, yeah. It seems like... as we start, it's almost they're too much of a threat. What can we even do against them? Type of deal. And interestingly, Avalanche is only succeeding because Shinra wants them to succeed.
Yeah, and that's what makes Shinra so dangerous.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Final Fantasy X. It's Yu Yevon or whoever is the bad guy there.
Well, it's Sin is the bad guy. I would argue. For most of the game.
Well, there's some other stuff, but they don't really feel that dangerous compared to Shinra. Shinra actually feels like they will end you if they can.
Yeah, it's not for lack of trying.
So I had to applaud them for that. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Anything else besides Shinra's general competence that kind of stuck out as different from your memory in terms of the general plot of things?
I think that's the big thing. I mean, we're gonna talk about some shadows later on, but I don't. Yeah, like Shinra was like the big thing that like, oh, these actually are the dangerous guys. Okay.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I'm completely in agreement with that. Um, let's see. I think I did a general overview of the plot just fine. We can talk a little bit about the ancients and the Promised Land, I suppose. But basically, we have Aerith, and she's an ancient, and they're like the ancient people of the world, and basically they were a nomadic people that would go around and like spread the love, so to speak. And basically they were looking for a place called the Promised Land, and I don't remember what it was said that they would get when they went to the Promised Land, like eternal prosperity, maybe. But anyway, Shin was looking for the Promised Land because they want to harvest the Mako energy at the Promised Land. So very like kind of simple to understand on the nose.
Yeah, like Shinra is basically the evil oil company that just wants more oil.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's like we don't care how many more wars we need to start for it. Like, it's very easy to like make parallels. And yeah, that's totally cool. Like, so on the one hand, you have like this very like intimate, deep, what is the purpose, and it's kind of like has religious undertones of like, what is the origin of this world, and how did the people in the deep history interact with it? Where did the ancient peoples go, and why have we come to the place we have today? So there's a lot wrapped up in that. And Shinra's kind of like the enemy. Or are they? We'll see. We'll have this debate later.
Yeah, it's like I didn't remember any of the Promised Land, or like I knew that Aerith was like one of the special people, more or less.
Yeah.
But like I didn't remember any of the prophecy or what all the backstory there.
Yeah, and at this point in the game, like it's very vague. It's like she hears the cries of the planet, and like there's a flashback where her adopted mother, her husband dies in the battlefield, and she's like, "Don't cry." Their voice went away. So it's clear that like she has some strange powers, which is why Shinra used her as a test subject. So yeah, it all pretty much it's fairly tightly written, I would say. And I actually really was impressed with the flashback with Aerith's mother. That was so much better than I remembered it.
Yeah, I mean that was a really good scene, and I didn't remember it at all.
So that's probably the best scene so far in the game.
Yeah, probably.
And I mean, the plot's pretty good so far, so that's saying something.
Yeah, and it also explains why Shinra wants Aerith as well. It all ties in, because they want the Promised Land to get more oil, and he's one of the tickets to get there, basically.
Yeah. Is there anything else about the plot you want to talk about? I felt like we did a decent enough job. I mean, we're only like 7 hours in the game at this point, so there's not too much to talk about. I think it's most of the meat's in the characters. Let's just put it that way. Because this is kind of an introductory part of the game where we're introduced to 1, 2, 3. So we're introduced to about half the cast.
Yeah, I mean, story-wise, the only thing I can, I guess, complain about is that they go to the Shinra headquarters like at hour 4 in the game.
I know, it's like very early. You wouldn't expect that. You'd expect it to be like a final dungeon type thing, And another game it would be you finally get to the Demon King's, big tower or whatever.
Yeah, but of course the problem is then if you go there early on, like they have to basically scale down the danger, basically.
Yeah, which I didn't feel that they did here, actually.
I don't know, like, we can talk about this when we talk more about Paradise, I suppose, but it just... They should have more defenses at the Shinra headquarters. Because, like, it's relatively simple to get in. So, like, that's the only thing I can't really complain about, but...
Okay, so let's talk about the character.
Actually, I just want to mention, like, there's some strange enemy design.
Oh yeah, that's part of the goofy. Like, I know when you fight the Hell House, I'm like, okay. And like, you have a lot of weird flying creatures and like mutants, and like something. I think it's intentional because this idea that like nature's been encroached upon, and so you have like these weird combinations like mutants and machines in the overworld. Not only that, but it's mentioned a little later that there's actually more monsters in the world because of Shinra's activities.
I mean, the Hellhouse and stuff doesn't really bother me too much because, like, this is in the slums.
Yeah.
And, we know there's macro energy and materia around. And Shinra might have, dropped some experiments out there or something, so that's fine enough. But, like, there's one enemy you fight in the Shinra headquarters. Like, it's like a giant stop sign or something. It's like a big thing. It says stop on or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it looks like a pinball machine almost.
Yeah, it's like, what is this purpose of this thing? I don't see it used for combat. Like, why would they design this? Like, it's just really strange.
It's strange. I think the enemy design is kind of charming. Like, it's how I.
Well, I mean, the way I'm looking at this, if I'm an evil company and I want to take over the world or whatever,
right,
I would not design a thing like that. That makes no sense for me.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you have like they have some like shark thing or some. There's some flying fish thingy also in there, with some spikes for the body or whatever. I mean, at least that makes sense. You can use that for combat. But yeah, like, there's just some strange designs there. I'm sure they had fun making this stuff, but it just... The purpose of the enemies makes me some questions. Actually, about Shinra, I want to mention one more thing about them.
Mm-hmm.
I do like they're not out there to conquer the world. They just want more macro energy, basically.
I mean, yeah, I'm not sure how keen they are on world domination. It's more like, we're here to extract resources. I mean, later in the game, that's the vibe I get. It's like they don't have to conquer the world. It's kind of like the machines will do it for them. I'm going to leave that purposely vague for now, though.
Well, I mean, the problem, if you're an organization that makes materia or energy or whatever they do with the Mako stuff,
mm-hmm.
If you conquer the entire world, who are you going to sell the stuff to?
Right, that's a good point.
Like if you make everyone your slaves, then you're not going to sell them to them, and you can't make any money anymore. I mean, sure, you have all the money in the world, but it's like the main objective isn't just to conquer the world; it's to make more money and get more energy, basically.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm trying to think. I know one thing that isn't character related that stuck out to me was kind of the authenticity of the backgrounds. Like, what you're maneuvering around and about, it's not necessarily like a dungeon. It's just like junk and wreckage because you're in the slums. And there's like a lot of interesting things you have to maneuver around and interact with. It's really interesting, and I guess sets the tone very well. And it kind of there's a strong juxtaposition of that and the rest of the game, I think. I'm just going to leave it at that. because I can't make the comparison because I haven't gotten to the rest of the game yet.
But I mean, you have certain things, like you have the train graveyard,
Right.
where they put all the trains, and you have seen the character move around on trains before.
Mm-hmm.
So that actually makes sense, you know.
Yeah.
And it shows that like Shinra doesn't really care, you know. Once the train doesn't work anymore, they just throw it in place, and you know.
Yeah, they just abandon it because they're moving up, literally. Like, you know, the people that matter live above the slums. I mean, you never get to go to the place above. That's actually one of my few complaints about the game in general, is that you don't get to do that.
Well, I mean, at the same time, like, why would you be able to go up there? Because, you know, there probably is some security to make sure that, you know, people from the well, I mean, when they can get to the Shinra headquarters, they can probably get to
Well,
the upper plate as well, I guess.
I don't know. They don't really talk about it, which is interesting. You gotta wonder what's up there.
Well, that's might not be a bad thing either, because if you only know how the slums work, the developers doesn't need to basically.
Sure. I mean, there's the technical limitation angle of it to consider. Although, I think they could have done it. I think they were focusing too much on making those FMVs that, you know, are 30 seconds long. Like, they're cool, but I think most of them were unnecessary and took up too much space.
Yeah,
I feel like the game is cinematic enough without them, if that makes sense.
I mean, like, the reason the games are on like 3 and 4 CDs is basically because of the FMVs.
Yes.
Because like when you get to a new disc, especially for the new videos, I mean, the whole game is basically on each disc.
Yep. Yeah, I have mixed feelings because this started the 3D era of video games, and video games have never gotten over this particular thing of like, we just need to have more of a spectacle, and the games need to have better graphics and stuff, and it's everything else about gaming has suffered because of it, I think. I don't know if it's a strong statement, but it's something I believe. Now, I used to believe that the spectacle didn't matter. I was wrong. The spectacle totally matters, and it's cool. I just think that there's other important elements of a game, or really any work of fiction.
Well, graphics were a big thing back in the day. Because like every new system that came out, like it's like 16-bit or 32-bit, you know.
Yeah.
It's like they have to show the improvement basically.
Pretty much.
But like if you think now from the PlayStation 5 to 6, it's not really that much big difference.
Yeah, it seems like they're starting to hit a point of critical mass lately. Like, you know what, in 10 years everything will be 4K, and then what? Like, that's probably good enough. Honestly, I think most games don't need to go that far. As long as it doesn't obstruct the gameplay, and it, you know, it has to have a style about it.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. I mean, like if you have like early 3D games can look pretty dated nowadays because of their really blocky and stuff.
Yeah.
But like if you have a really good art style, that's you can basically, you know, go with that.
It will age better if it has a certain style to it.
Yeah.
Like certain 90s anime still look good today. There's a anime Zeta Gundam. It looks fantastic still. And it was made late 80s. So it's more about the style, I think, that will determine how timeless something is. And you know, there's a lot of talk about, we'll get to this talk when we talk about remake, but there's a lot of talk about, oh, we got to remaster all these games because it hasn't aged well, and you know, how important is that actually? There's something to be said about that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and companies are remastering games that came out like 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's too soon.
Come on, it's.
I think only certain games should be remade. And you know, certain games don't even need to be remastered. There's some that desperately need it, but I don't think. I think it's just lazy. Well, we'll get into that more later. I do love Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'll come out and say, kind of for different reasons. But well, I won't say I'm the minority, but there's certainly like a debate on whether it's a good game or not.
Like, I've never played it myself, so I can't really comment on it.
I'm going to be playing it fairly soon, I think.
Are you gonna play it from the start, or are you gonna start from the second game? Like, how does that work?
No, I'm going to play it from the start.
Yeah. That could be interesting to watch.
Yeah.
See the difference, because I have no idea. I just know that. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about it on the net, but
A ton
I
of
haven't
it,
really been
yeah.
following it. But yeah.
Good. I'm going to be interested to pick your brain about it. Because people have pretty different reactions to the game. Alright, so characters. Cloud. So something's wrong with Cloud. There's a voice in his head. But other than that, what is your, I guess, general thinking about Cloud so far?
He's kind of like. I mean, he's a man of action. You know, he runs into. Well, I mean, not so much at Barrett's. Barrett's more like he doesn't think about stuff, and then. But I mean, Cloud is a soldier, so he's proficient in fighting, which makes sense. He feels kind of cocky. It's like he knows he's good.
Yeah.
Of course, you know. He thinks he's S-class or wherever his
Soldier first class, S-class, yeah. Basically, yeah, he's the top grade soldier.
Well, we're gonna get back to that, because
Yeah.
we're gonna get back to it later on. But yeah, like he feels like he's better than people in fighting, at least, which makes sense because he was a soldier.
He's legitimately is, though. Like, if you compare him to the other members of the party, he's, like, just better. Like, he's the best guy.
But, I don't know, but much to say. I mean, like, I didn't remember all of the stuff with the voice in the head and stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's some stuff later on when he's like kind of freaking out in the Shinra headquarters, I think it was. And of course we're gonna get back to that later on in the game, because I remember some of it, but not all. But yeah, for a main character, it works, you know. Like he's kind of basic, but that's kind of what you want with the main character when you're playing it, basically. Because like. Yes, there's more things to him, but yeah, for now, you're choosing what you want him to be, basically.
Yeah, to a certain degree. Like, there's still a lot of, like, you know, the bravado and what have you. He's, like, constantly striking poses. More than I remembered.
Yeah, but, I mean, usually I don't like people when they, like, you know, throw off too much, but it's not a problem for me so far. You know, because, like, he is better than people in fighting.
Yeah.
Because like it's a really good explanation why.
I mean, he's literally been like enhanced to be better at fighting. So, you know, a lot of the kind of crazy stuff that happens is more believable because he's a super soldier, literally.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it would be more a problem if he was actually kind of bad in combat.
Yeah.
Because if you tell me, oh, this guy's really good, and like, really? Like, I haven't seen any of that so far, though. But yeah, so. I mean, of course, it's a game, so you have to. You can't make him do like 999 in combat each time, but you know. And actually, it's gonna be interesting to see why he's. Like, I assume when he got rebooted from Soldier, like they took some stuff away from him or something. Like I don't know how they actually do the soldier stuff, if it's materia based, or if it's, you know, they inject them with some all the time to keep their power. Like, I don't know how that works. So I'd be interested to see if we're gonna get some more info about that later on. But yeah, I mean, he's kind of like a more positive Squall from Final Fantasy VIII, kind of.
That's an understatement. I guess I wouldn't call Cloud like a happy character per se. Like he's very interested in looking cool, I guess. And he kind of keeps a distance from everybody, and he cares very much about being a cool guy. That's kind of like the whole of his character at the moment. And of course,
he's like he's like 17 or something, I think.
Well, no, he's 21, I think, in this game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well,
because in the flashback from 5 years ago, he's 16, I think, or 17. He's 21 or 22, one of those.
Okay.
I have to look
then
it up. Yeah.
Then it makes sense why he wants to look cool as well, because
he's 21. Yeah. And he has all these pretty girls around him too, who are into him, but he doesn't realize it. Speaking of which, what do you think of Tifa?
I don't think we've seen too much about her yet to really make. She's like a childhood friend character.
Yes.
And we know she has some combat ability. Like, we don't really know what. I mean, yeah. I mean, I know that she did the stuff in Nibelheim and some scout and stuff, but based on this, I don't really. But based on Midgard, we don't really know why or how she really got in contact with Avalanche and all that stuff. Well, actually, that's not true. We did learn about some stuff, yeah. Yeah, we had like a flashback or something when... Yeah, okay. But yeah, it's... I don't know. Again, when I played, I came from 8 and 9 and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So she kind of felt like a discount Cell, I think.
Really?
Cell,
that's interesting.
He kind of has the same moves as her.
Right, yeah, he's like the punchy guy.
Yeah. Although his works a bit differently, but yeah. But I mean, so far she hasn't really made an impression on me, really.
Interesting.
Yeah, like she's a pushy character, and she's a childhood friend, but we haven't really had any. Like Earth had more character development than her, really.
Well, let's talk about this. So, we have like the flashback where Cloud promises to, save her if she's ever in trouble, and he's going to be a soldier, and it's part of his dream. So we get that flashback, and obviously Tifa's like, you see her like little model like pose in front of Cloud and whatnot. Like she's very clearly like into him, and is trying to make herself visible, which is like one of the obvious signs of interest. She really hates Shinra a lot, and we learn why later. But it's a very good reason. She's it's kind of weird that the childhood friend is also a barmaid. You usually don't combine those two things, and she's an action girl. So she's kind of unconventional in that sense. But yeah, we get some, like, she's willing to, like, do, I guess, like, she goes to Don Corneo's in order to get intel so that they can know what to do next. So she's not exactly a passive character. I don't think any of the characters in this game are. Yeah, she definitely doesn't get enough development as Aerith, but I wouldn't say she gets no character development. Maybe she hasn't changed and that's what character development is, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, since I don't remember too much about her, like, I can't really...
Yeah, I remember less about her than I do Aerith, because Aerith is really important for a number of reasons. Well, you want to talk about Barrett first or Aerith first? I'll let you choose, because I know you had a bunch to say about Barrett.
Probably Aerith, I guess.
Okay. Alright, let's talk about Aerith first. And yes, it's Aerith. I know there was some debate about whether it's Aerith or Aerith. It's Aerith. It was always meant to be Aerith, but Japanese is a weird language that doesn't have a th sound. They only have a su sound. So, Aerizu, so they thought it was Aerith, but it was supposed to be Aerith. Yeah, but just so we got that down. Yeah, so what do you think about Aerith?
Well, I mean, she's... I mean, like, she's one of the, Cetra, I think it's called?
Yes.
Ancients?
Yeah, the Ancients. And they call themselves etc. Yeah.
And... I think she said something about being the last one, or something like that. Maybe I just remembering, but, like, she's one of the few that's left, at least. So she's more or less one of... She's kind of a plot device. But I guess it makes sense, because, like, she is, like... Since Shinra is, like, the evil company that basically, you know, takes all the Mako energy. And she basically is one of the planet. It makes sense that she's not... like, I guess the main question is, why is she in Midgar? You would think this would be a really bad place for her to be.
Well, she can't escape. How do you escape Midgar? And what's outside of Midgar? It's like a big black canyon. And yeah, there's a village, but you have to, like, brave the big canyon and get all the way to the village without running into monsters, which is unlikely. Remember, Aerith can't hit for shit. She needs materia to do damage.
Well, actually, the first battle you had with her, she did more damage than Cloud.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was a back attack.
I also, I didn't know what enemies had good stuff, so I missed a weapon for Cloud and a weapon for Aerith that you can steal in the beginning of the game. That are, like, you know, better. And Aerith gets her striking staff that way, which actually hits pretty hard.
Interesting. Yeah, but, like, that's not something you would know when you're playing the game for the first time either.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I'm sort of kind of using a guide just for various things, because the second time I play through this before the final remake game, it's gonna be... I'm gonna break the game this time, but I'm gonna really, like, outdo myself, I think, in the other one, just to really show off this stuff.
I mean, the question would be, like, why would someone run out with like a buster sword on them?
Yeah, and when I play FF8 eventually, I'm gonna because I never played the card game the first time I played it. I didn't play the game properly, so I'm gonna play the card game, and yeah, it would be interesting.
I mean, this would be a discussion on what is the proper way to play Final Fantasy VIII.
Well, yeah, it's kind of a strange game in that regard.
You can't really play it like any other Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, so the first time I played FF8, the battle system was weird, so I used Action Replay to be level 100, and I played it. Just because, you know, enemies scale with you, so it was actually an interesting way to play the game, if everyone's level 100.
Yeah, it's like, the more you level, the harder the game gets. It's really weird.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it just... And of course, the magic system, like, if you use magic, you weaken yourself if you junction it, so... Yeah, it's weird. That's actually something with 7 that's interesting, because you can actually do a lot of customization.
Oh, there's a truckload of it with materia. And once I get out of Midgar, you're gonna see, like, it becomes a lot more important. I mean, partly because you have more materia slots, so you actually have more options. And, yeah. And I utilize some of those combinations to great effect.
Because, like, in some Final Fantasy game, you have roles, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, in 7, you can do some... Like, you can make... Like, Air do the damage in combat as well, if you put on combat material on her.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you're gonna put like in Final Fantasy 10, the striking with Lulu isn't really gonna do much. No, she's mostly gonna do the black mage stuff the entire game. So, but yeah, I mean, we did have the flashback with Aerith, and that was really good. As I said, I didn't remember the whole thing at all, so.
I had some vague memories of like there's a scene in the subway where her mother's there. I remembered that, but that's about it.
Interesting that she sells flowers. Because if she is off the planet, why would she pick flowers from it? Wouldn't that be like weakening the plant itself?
I don't know, but I mean, she makes mad bank from it. Like, actually, I forgot to click the option where you take the flower. But she gets a lot of gold. We learn like 800 gil sometimes, so she's making a living from it. Surprisingly.
So she's taking flowers on the planet, selling it to gain gil to buy materia from Shinra.
Only when she's in my party. It's a bit hypocritical. Like, let's be real. I mean, okay, if I have an option of fighting and not using materia and using materia, I'm going to use materia every time. I'm sorry. Like, just from a practical standpoint, you're going to use the materia.
Yeah, I mean, of course. If you're a terrorist and you can steal some RPGs and shoot them against people that provide you with the RPGs,
Right.
because I mean, you would do it. Like, you wouldn't go there with sticks. You would get the guns basically. But I mean, you could say it's Cloud that's buying this stuff, so it's not. And actually, she didn't give you the money, so she kept the money from herself.
Yes.
So.
Well, let's talk about her personality, because people tend to remember Aerith in a particular way, in which she is not. I don't know how much you know about that, but people kind of remember her like a Disney princess, basically, and she's not. Like, she's, not above basically ripping guys off for the flowers and using her beauty as a weapon. She's kind of sassy. And she's highly emotionally intelligent, I would say. So
Yeah,
she's constantly like feeling Cloud out and trying to. Basically, she has the social graces enough to not embarrass him. Is how I would put it.
I mean, in the scenes that we've seen with her, like, she's being proactive. She's she's making decisions and making sure that things go her way, basically.
Yes.
Like the whole thing when Cloud has to dress up as a girl, that was basically her idea.
Yes.
So, but like, I don't remember. I don't remember much about her apart from one special scene.
Yeah, that's pretty much the case for everybody. I got that spoiled because in the guidebook, it just has that on one of the pages. I was so mad. Oh, I'll never forget how mad I was at that. Stupid Prima Guide. Fuck you, if you're listening. Whoever made that.
Yeah, that's like, I knew it before going in as well, because everyone was talking about it. When I was playing like in 9 and 8.
Yeah, I mean, she isn't by far isn't the first person in an RPG to have that happen to them, but yeah, it's like one of those things where, like, who hasn't had it spoiled?
Yeah, it's because, like, thing is, as I was playing 8 and 9, in dorm and stuff, people were sitting next to me, and all they're talking about how good Final Fantasy 7 was.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I waited so long because for playing it, because everyone has said this is the best thing ever.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, so far, like, Actually, it's kind of interesting. She's really smart and knows how to do stuff. But then it comes to combat, where the whole thing when in the church, when she's basically just standing there and asking Cloud what to do, which way should I run and stuff. So but I guess that's just a gameplay thing, where it's gonna look like you're helping her, I guess.
Yeah.
But that whole scene it seemed kinda off compared to how she's doing normally.
I'm trying to think, does Aerith ever pay you for being her bodyguard? I don't think she does. Just something to note. But I do think people's image of Aerith is colored by one particular scene. And that it doesn't really capture... Because she's a fairly complex character. She's actually way more complex than any other character in the series. But except for maybe Sephiroth. But yeah, I think she's portrayed really well. She has a lot of depth to her, clearly. I mean, she kind of acts like a Genki girl. She has like a lot of energy and is very proactive, like you were saying. And she's very good at reading people. And she's socially aware enough to like put out the feels. Like, for example, when she's talking about Tifa, she's like being very subtle about it. Well, not very subtle, but she's like asking him questions and stuff so that nobody gets embarrassed. That's just an example. Like, she does it all the time.
Yeah, I guess the question would be like, has she always been like that, or is it because she grew up in the slums? And
yeah, she's a slum girl through and through. She makes me laugh, honestly. She's really funny.
Like, she basically had to develop these skills in order to survive, basically.
Yeah, I mean, she says that. She says that as much. I mean, it's clear that Senra is, like, they're not as aggressively going after her as you would expect. Like, how is she able to escape them time to time again? And, it's because of her power. You don't really realize that until later. But, it makes sense.
Yeah, and it's kind of... Actually, that first time you meet her, Cloud falls like a couple hundred feet down.
Yeah, at least.
And he wakes up next to Aerith.
Yeah.
And he might have died there, but it's since Aerith is next to him, it's.
Did she save him? Like, it's unclear. Did Sephiroth save him? That's unclear. Did he just survive because he's a super steroid bro? That's very unclear.
Well, I don't think he would survive the fall. Because, like, it was a long distance.
Yeah, I mean, he hits the roof and the flowers, but I don't think that's enough to cushion the fall, personally.
No, I mean, when he hit the roof, like,
he would die as soon as he hit the roof, yeah.
But since Aerith is next to him, I'm just gonna... Like, it works for me because I know who... Well, I know some about her.
Yeah.
And like, she is the white mage, more or less, in the party.
Well, she is the mage. Like, she just has superior magic skills. Her weapon always has more materia slots. Her limit breaks are really broken. Like, she has an AoE heal. She has, what does the second one do? It's like Seal Evil. Like, it basically, like, paralyzes the enemy. She has one where literally the party members become invincible for a while. I'll showcase that later when I do the grind. Because I'm going to get all 4 of her limit breaks in this one. And I'm going to be using her a lot, actually. And I think in subsequent playthroughs I won't use her at all, but in this one I'm going to use her a lot.
But yeah, I mean, I like white mages. I'd probably put her in a party if I was playing for the first time. It's like free healing. You can't really go wrong with that.
Yeah, I think, objectively speaking, like, it's better to use Cloud, Red, and Barret, I think. Or Cloud, Yuffie, Barret. I think they're better characters overall. But yeah, Aerith is really good. She has her niche.
I think I used the guy with the Sid. I think the guy with the spear.
Sid. Yeah, well, we haven't gotten Sid. I can't wait to talk about Sid. He's my favorite character.
I just remember him throwing the dynamite. That's the thing I remember about him.
Okay.
But yeah, I do like Eret. At least so far. I mean, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how she develops during the thing. Because like because I know the one scene happens and some leading up to it, but yeah, that's I don't know why and all that stuff. So
We'll talk about that.
well, I know why, but well,
yeah.
But yeah.
We'll talk about that still. Okay, Barrett.
Should we talk about Red 13 first?
Oh, yeah, I guess we did the least about him. So we have Red. I don't know why it defaults to Red instead of Red 13, but I'm just going to call him Red, I guess. He has a real name. We'll learn that later, but he doesn't really care. I always voice him like an old man. I just feel like he has more wisdom and stuff like that. He's a talking dog of some kind. He's an experiment of Hojo's, and they were going to breed him with Aerith.
Well, I mean, 13 is probably... I assume that's the name Shinra gave him?
Yeah.
Like test subject 13, basically.
Yeah.
Which means they probably, killed 12 of his other,
Maybe.
But actually, why would they do the experiment with Aerith and 13 if she's the one to lead them to the promised land? How's this gonna help?
Well, there was something about they need 120 more years for a certain experiment, and they need to breed her because of that.
Yeah, but with 13, I mean, with Red, I mean, how does that work?
I don't know. I don't want to know.
That's fair.
That's all I have to say about the subject.
I mean, it's Hojo, so I would assume he knows stuff.
Hojo has his ways.
But then again, if he made like the what was the house that they fight in the train graveyard again?
Oh, not in the graveyard. You find him past the playground area. Hell House?
Yeah, I mean, if he makes hell houses,
Yeah.
I assume he has some knowledge. It's just, I don't know. For me, it just seems strange. But again, I assume there's a reason for it. It just seems like the way it's portrayed in the game. It just feels like this is the moment where the heroes have to save her, basically, because she's in mortal danger. But the thing is, like, I think you like rested twice in an inn before you went to this scene.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about, like, if there's a time limit on it, you might have been too late.
Yeah, I mean, this game doesn't have that issue.
Yeah, I know. It's just,
Yeah, I mean,
you have to hurry.
Yeah, it's slightly immersion breaking, but it's a game. Like, it shouldn't be that crappy to you, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know. It's... I actually think I remember his name, but yeah, it comes up later on. Like, you either go to his village or some other village that there's some stuff there. I remember. But yeah, like, we don't know much about him. It's a talking dog. It is interesting in itself, but... And it's... Well, that's like, I think Tifa was surprised it was talking dog, but I mean, she hasn't really been out of, well, actually she has been out, she came from Nibelheim. But it's assumed that like this is not some common thing, like whatever race he's from, it's...
Yeah, we'll talk a lot more about that when we get to Cosmo Canyon. But yeah, we don't really know much about him, other than that he seems pretty thoughtful. Like,
well, I actually, since the whole thing trying to put her with Eret, you would think he's at least there's some. He's not normal.
No.
He could be related to like the etc. or something like that. There's something going on there. Like
True.
I don't know, but it's just yeah. But yeah, he seems to think about certain things. Like we don't know how old he is. But yeah, he feels like he's been around for quite a while. And so he has some more wisdom, and he thinks over stuff a lot more than, say, Barrett, who just runs into things and shoots.
True.
But yeah, we haven't really seen too much of him. We just we had him from like half an hour. And yeah.
He's cool. I like his design.
Well, he felt kind of sad when he was on the elevator and he couldn't attack the enemy on the other side because you didn't give him any materia.
Well, yeah, my bad. You see, that's what happens when you don't use a guy.
Well, I mean, first time playthrough, you would also not know, so.
Yeah.
But I guess it wasn't entirely clear how the thing played out.
Yeah.
Because you have a scene where Cloud is clearly gonna have a battle with Rufus, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I have my issues with party limits in general. I actually don't like them. And, I mean, I guess on the one hand it gives you a reason to replay the game, but on the other hand it gates content from you. This is actually a huge problem in FF6, if I ever played that. Like, there's this one character, his character is so good, but in combat he's freaking useless. So he's literally just attacks. And he's a thief. And they barely do jack shit in the first few Final Fantasy games. Like, they're practically worthless. But he's such a good character that you want to bring him along. Because you're not going to get his lines if you don't bring him. And I just hate that about old RPGs. That's something that's gone the way of the dodo, and I'm proud of it.
I was actually surprised that you got access to a party so early on, or like you have to choose your party early on. Like in Final Fantasy 9, you're basically controlling one party until disc 2 or something. So,
well, they get separated early in the game, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's better than how, because in 7 it feels like you have to choose early on who you're gonna have with you, basically.
I am pretty surprised that RPGs don't. You know, typically it follows one party moving around, but it would be more interesting if you had several parties kind of concurrently across the map. I think you can tell a more complex story that has a larger scale more easily that way. I'm surprised RPGs don't do that more often, actually.
Yeah, I guess it's
kind of a shame, and it causes a lot of problems in tabletop RPGs. That's a discussion for when I play a Dungeons and Dragons game, though. Like Baldur's Gate, which I'm actually quite good at.
Like, my problem with Final Fantasy games is I usually end up with one party, and that's the party I basically keep for the entire game.
Interesting.
So I don't get to all of the I don't get the same connection with the other people, because I never use them.
Fair enough.
And then you get the first encounter with them, and my guy's like level 7. I'm gonna fight against level 30 people. I'm like, yeah, this is fun. But yeah, it's. And especially in 7, where you have 3 people instead of 4.
Yeah.
Like, it's even more of a limit there.
Yep. Some have 5. So yeah, it kind of depends on which RPG you're playing.
Yeah, but I thought for Red 13, we don't really know too much about him, but I just figured we should talk about him because he's a part member, so.
Yeah, okay. Barrett. You said he had a lot to talk about, Barrett. I should as well. I think he gets quite a lot of characterization in this part of the game.
Yeah, he's a really interesting character. He's really angry all the time.
Yes.
Also in combat.
Yes.
The thing is, like, we don't really know why he's so angry.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't gotten his backstory. I mean,
No.
I know parts of it because I remember there's a scene coming up in some town about him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he really hates Shinra. And the excuse he's giving is that they're destroying the planet.
Yes.
Now, he doesn't look like an environmentalist or someone who really cares about the planet.
No, he's like this really like big guy, huge muscles. You know, he has a Gatling gun for an arm and tattoos. Like he's like the most conspicuous guy ever.
Yeah, so his excuse about they're destroying the planet doesn't really make sense to me. It's like there has to be something else here. Like, and of course, like we don't know him because like he doesn't really trust people as well.
No,
which makes
especially
sense.
Cloud, which makes sense honestly.
Yeah, I mean he's a leader of a terrorist organization. I mean, of course you're gonna be suspicious. So, but as I said, we're gonna get more of it later on. But right now, I wouldn't trust him either. That's the thing. Because
why?
Well, like he's saying things, but because like if this was in real life, or if he says Shinra's destroying the planet. Like if ever Cloud, like I would ask, okay, can you explain some more? Like, do you have some proof, anything to back this up? But no, we just get the line, and Cloud probably doesn't care.
No, he doesn't.
Cloud's there to get the money, so he's like, yeah, just keep talking, man. Just give me the money.
He's like, I don't care about your ideology. I'm here to get paid. He's just a mercenary, kind of.
Yeah, so since he's mercenaries, and
oh, I do actually appreciate that he does actually pay you, and it's like an amount that makes sense too. Like I like stuff like that. Makes me happy.
Yeah, that's good. That's like they're paying attention to detail and stuff. But it's like Barrett is a terrorist leader, and Cloud is a mercenary, so there's no real trust there from the beginning. Like the link is Tifa, who knows both Barrett and Cloud. And we can also see it in dialogue that if Barrett, he's suspicious of Cloud. And the only reason Cloud is in is because of Tifa, so... But yeah, it's interesting how... I mean, I do like him as a character. And he's a really... Like we know there's a lot more stuff under the hood that we don't see yet.
Yeah.
And also, but Barrett isn't one that would talk about stuff like this.
No, he would just like get angry and stop you from talking.
Yeah, because well, first of all, he probably doesn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to be seen as weak either.
No.
So because
you constantly see him like hitting stuff to scare people. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's part of his persona as well.
Yes.
But I mean, also this comes into the whole thing about Shinra and stuff. Because like he hates Shinra, but like if they're destroying the planet, would he go to this extent to basically attack them? Like, would blowing up the reactors, really help? Of course, he probably knows more about the world than as a...
Right, we don't really know. Like, all we know about Shinra is kind of through him for a long time in the game. Which is kind of interesting if you think about it.
Well, I mean, we do get some supplementary information when you see the cutscenes where Shinra's being evil.
Yes, it's true. Like we'll see like Shinra talking, it will cut to Shinra and they'll talk about stuff. So there's that.
I mean, I think it could be more interesting if he's talking about how evil Shinra is, and then we see Shinra talking about how good they are. That could be interesting.
That's a good point. They're not going for that though, for various reasons. But yeah, I do think that would have been good. Let's see. So I really like Barrett. I don't think I made any qualms about showing that while I was playing the game. I think he's like the sprite work they do for him. He's like the most expressive character. He's very, very funny. And you know what he's all about. He's very transparent, which I appreciate a lot. Final Fantasy games have this tendency to like try to have every character be like really secretive, especially as the series goes on. I just hate that. Like I like how transparent everybody is in this game. It helps a lot, I think. And Barrett kind of sets the tone for that, right? He's like the first major character you meet. And other than being very funny, like he has a lot of different sides to him. Because, he has a daughter who's clearly not his. She's a little white girl. And he's a big black guy. So it's like, okay, he has a daughter. He loves her. And, will do anything to protect her, basically. And one thing that interested me is that, he doesn't know Aerith. Like, you just kind of met her. But what gets him invested in her is that she made a sacrifice to save Marlene. Which I thought was really sweet. And he was able to understand what the mom was up, the adoptive mother was up with as well. And I thought that was a really elegant way to bring him into the fold of things.
Yeah.
And
it also...
he's on a mission to destroy Shinra. And it's a crazy suicidal mission, filled with anger. And he's just like they're just like a few people up against this big monolith, and it's insane if you think about it. And he's not a big planner. He has other people do that for him. He's a big he's like a 80s action superhero. Like that's kind of what he reminds me of, and that's why I love him.
Yeah, like he could fit into like the A-team or something like that.
Exactly. That's why I voice him like Mr. T. I can't really get his voice down correctly, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's kind of the Mr. T, yeah?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Although a lot angrier. But yeah, Barrett's a really good character. Well, I guess I'll visit more about him. Like, we don't know a lot about most of the characters at the moment. But the scene where, Sector 7... gets blown down, which it happened so quickly, which was something I forgot about in this game. And you see like the members like fall off the tower and die. It's like, dang, this is pretty dark. And Barrett's just unable to save any of it. And then he sees the molten wreckage and he's just like punching against it and shoots against it. That's a really powerful scene.
Yeah, I mean it's well done for sure. Of course, he doesn't blame himself. He blames Shinra.
Yeah, I mean, it was Shinra's plan, though. I mean, I think he's right in thinking that, but it's not like he isn't partly responsible either.
Yeah, I mean, because like he was the one that, like, if he hadn't blown up all the reactors, this wouldn't have happened.
True, but there's some thought about, well, would Shinra have blown one of them up as part of their plan anyway?
Well, why would they have to blow them up?
Because Neo Midgar. That's the plan.
No, I think they probably just would have just captured the Earth and just didn't care about the Avalanche guys, I think.
This actually brings up a good point that I was thinking about. Why do they have to destroy Midgar to have Neo Midgar? It's something I never understood. Why can't they have Midgar and Neo Midgar? Like, why not both? Like, it seems kind of dumb. Like, I understand that they're willing to sacrifice the slums because they don't give a shit. And, like, they're not people and whatever. And we'll rebuild it better. But, like, it seems like they intend to abandon Midgar. Or maybe I just read into that too much, but that was just something I was thinking about.
The way I looked at it is like they're not gonna, because I think the problem is like it's gonna cost 10 billion credits to rebuild Sector 7 or something.
Yeah, 10 billion go.
Yeah, and it just, I don't think they're gonna abandon Midgar. It's just like they're just gonna use these resources for the Neo Midgar instead. Because if I remember correctly, like they were basically not running out of Mako, but they were getting less Mako than they wanted, basically. So if you put more resources to get to Neo Midgar instead, then they get more Mako, and then they can use that credit to rebuild Midgard. But I don't think it's just abandoning. It's just, I mean, like it's a slum basically, and it's like, and they blame this as Avalanche as well. I think they probably do some reconstruction just to make it look like they're doing something. But you know, a whole plate fell down. So this is gonna take a long time probably. But then again, I don't know how close they are to getting to Neo Midgard. If the thing was to,
Right.
like, if they need an area to basically find a way, then they can't really do that game plan anymore. So they might just rebuild Plate 7, you know, because this other thing doesn't work anymore. Like, I don't know how the whole refining process of Mako works. So I don't know if they're basically getting Mako from Midgar, or if they're transporting it to Midgar and then using it in Midgar to make materia, or I don't really know how it works. So, or could you just basically drill into the planet at any point and just get Mako from everywhere?
Well, this will be explained in much more detail later.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I don't know why it has to be Midgar. Or is that just because it's convenient to have it there? Like, I know they have something up in Nibelheim. There's some reactor or something up there.
Yeah, there's different reactors across the world, basically.
But as I said, I don't know if it's just because for testing purposes, you know, if you're gonna have secret lab, you can put this somewhere remote, basically.
Sure.
But as I said, I'm not 100% sure, and if you're gonna get told, then you know that's good. But yeah, what I find most interesting about Barrett is that, I mean, it makes sense that he wants to basically stop Shinra to make sure that, like, if he really thinks Shinra's gonna destroy the world or the planet, then it makes sense to stop them to make sure Marlene is gonna have a future place to be, basically.
Yeah.
But but like, why would he put himself at the danger? Like, is that the reason enough, basically? Because what's gonna happen to her if he doesn't come back? So he's basically, like, you can say that he cares more about the planet than he does about Marlene, basically. But as I said, like, and that's the way they clash for me, because Barrett he doesn't look like the environmentalist, you know.
No.
So it's just, so I know there's something more there. It just, at this point, we don't know the whole picture.
Yeah. Okay, we did characters. Anything about the gameplay? We've talked about it intermittently, but anything that stuck out to you other than the depth of the materia? I said it was very cinematic, and we talked about how the enemies are, you know, mutants or robotic, etc.
For battle itself, I know. I mean, everyone says how great the material system is.
Yeah, I really like it.
No, of course, like I started with 8, where you have the junction system,
Yes.
which I won't say it's better, but it's more customizable, I think. Well, it's
I don't remember because I never used it when I played it.
like you can do a lot with that here, and
Yeah, definitely as the series goes on, things have gotten more customizable in Final Fantasy games, I would say. 9 does not as much, but like 10 certainly. One issue I had is that, and this is the case in 7 as well, but there's not that much to differentiate the characters other than their limit breaks in terms of their mechanics because you get everything from Materia. So it's not like Cloud gets certain commands that other people don't get access to. Just as an example. And so, yeah, they have different stat growths, but you get something called the sources, which you can farm in the game if you know what you're doing, so that everybody has, like, really high stats. So what differentiates them is just who has better limits, or not.
yeah, so it's kind of basically like 8 as well, then.
And 10. Except in 10, there's characters who are clearly better. Like, Waka's clearly better, because his attack is also a ranged attack. Yuna's clearly better, because she gets summons and no one else gets it. And Kimbari is clearly better, because he gets a special ability that only he gets. And they're clearly the best 3 party members in the game.
Interesting, because people really seem to hate Kimari for some reason.
Kimari's... What? Is that true? Kimari's freaking awesome. What are you talking about?
I like him. He's really good.
He's one of the best characters in that game, and he barely talks. But that's saying something.
Yeah, but like he doesn't really need to talk, you know.
No. Exactly.
Like you understand what he's about.
It makes me mad that you suggest that people dislike Kimari. Bro. I haven't played that game in forever.
Well, I mean, like I've seen a couple of videos on YouTube, because like there's one fight you had to fight with just Kimari.
Yeah, you have to fight the 2 guys on the mountain. I remember that.
And everyone seems to be like level 7 there, and he keeps dying all the time.
Well, FF10's really easy to break.
Yeah. And like and Waka's easily the best character in terms of damage. So he has like 16 hit super attack and just.
Yeah, Waka's really... He's also one of my favorite characters as well.
Yeah. I do like Auron, though. I mean, he's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, he's...
I clearly shouldn't need to play FF10 on the channel. I do have it on Steam. I'm not sure if I'd want to grind in that game without a speed-up option. But something you run into where it's better to have the emulator because it has a speed-up option, even if you own the game. I just played it with the Steam because it has an option that like scales the game up essentially.
I think Steam has some max level or some options you can put on.
Yep.
But yeah, what was the question again?
About the game mechanics themselves, like the battle system, etc. Is there anything that stuck out to you that you noticed? Because I'm constantly like pointing out stuff as I notice them during the gameplay, but I don't know what other people are noticing.
Like I haven't really messed around too much with the Materia system.
Yeah, me neither.
But I do like you combine all and like thunder or something, or the lightning. That it hits all. You know, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And the more you level them up, the more attacks you get. So it's very, very intuitive.
Yeah, I'm really debating what I'm going to be doing, because I think I'm going to do some Disc 1 grinding to make the game easier, obviously. But I don't know if I'm going to go for all the Materia combos I want to in this playthrough, just because of the time crunch. So we'll see. I may or may not do like a Disc 3, I'm going to do this big grind to show you all this crazy stuff he can do, essentially. I mean, that's going to make the rest of the game a joke, but, you know, there's always something to think about in that respect. Because, I mean, I remember I was playing Xenogears, another famous RPG, and I figured out this really broken combo fairly early in the game that would literally one-shot bosses with this one character. Thankfully, you don't have her in the game the entire time, but it was still kind of like, okay, I guess I missed some of the content of the game because I just one-shot all these bosses.
Yeah, I mean, it might look. I mean, that's one reason why you probably don't. You should get all these powerful characters in your party from the get-go, because if you just destroy everything, then
I don't know. I feel weird. Like, I really like figuring stuff out and then kicking the game's ass, so to speak. That's fun to me. In a one-player game.
Oh yeah.
Like, if we ever play Baldur's Gate, which I think we probably will, I think I would want to do a group let's play of that game, potentially, and have somebody else take control of the main character, and I could just guide people through it, because I like breaking that game apart. Because it's challenging enough to warrant that.
I mean, but if you're just really strong, then, I mean, while it might work thematically in the world, for gameplay, it's not really that interesting. Because if you just win every battle without any problem, then...
I have mixed feelings about that, too, because some boss fights are just really repetitive, and it's, like, better to end them quickly. Like, it's like, after you've seen all the boss's attacks and whatnot, and its patterns, like, then you can end the fight. It's kind of been my thing. So, I think I've been able to do that, despite having a really powerful attack that can end fights pretty quickly in FF7. So, just let me know, and I'll try to keep that in consideration. Because obviously, like, if I one-shot the boss in the first turn, that kind of, you know... Like, I'll be playing a game this year called Valkyria Chronicles, where there's the regular way to play the game, and then there's a get the A rank on every mission way. And that way is a bit more Mickey Mousey. And but what I'll do for that game is I'll run through the chapter regularly, and then I'll immediately do the A rank version of it, just to show it off. But I can't do that for this game, so we'll see.
Well, like, I mean, I remember when playing Persona 4 on hard mode my first time. I was battling one boss and I was underleveled.
Mm-hmm.
And like the boss hit me so hard. Like, I had to like heal after each hit, basically, because the boss was really doing damage to me.
Yeah.
And it was a really long battle. Like, it probably took like half an hour to beat that thing.
Yeah.
But when I finally beat it, it was like, hey, this was really cool. You know, this was... Because it really felt like I could die at any time.
Yeah.
But is it something I would do like again? It's like...
No. Yeah, not every boss should be that. I like some bosses to be steamrolls. This is kind of how I feel about stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, it really does make sense. It's like... It's like, let's say... let's try to make a spoiler thing here. I mean, let's take an anime like Ippo or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Ippo is really strong and stuff, you know. He's spec level 100 with all his skills. And, like, there's no fights where he basically... there's really no fights where he basically just wins by default. Every fight go to, like, round 8, 7 or 8, and he's, like, down 4 times, and, you know...
I think he wins a couple times in round 2. But that's kind of early on.
Yeah, it's like when he's gotten to the point where he is so strong that there should be a couple of fights where he can just win.
Yeah, he should just Dempsey roll and, you know, roll him over.
Yeah.
I don't think.
So, but,
yeah, I don't think things have to be long and drawn out to be epic. That's actually another issue I have with Final Fantasy games, to a certain degree, is that I feel like every RPG needs a way that you can cheese a boss. Because you're going to get a different experience every time, depending on how you play the game, right? And I think the game should take that into account. Like, it shouldn't force you to have to go through things in a certain way, if that makes sense, in combat. Like, one example is like... I'll give you this example later, when I play the remake. But, you haven't played certain games, so I can't use those as examples, like Kingdom Hearts, for example.
Yeah, I never played the game.
You should be able to
but
cheese bosses and break the game apart early in the game. In every RPG, changed my mind.
I mean, some early fights in, I think it's Final Fantasy 9, there's one boss.
Yeah.
You can put blind on him and he can't ever hit you.
Yeah.
But Final Fantasy has like tendency, like on disc 2 or 3 or 4 or later on, base are basically immune to everything.
Yeah.
So throwing that effect is not going to do anything.
There is a JRPG series that does this really well called Shin Megami Tensei. I mean, it has its own problems, but like they don't overly inflate boss HP and make them immune to stuff. Like every boss has like a different quirk. That game, honestly, I would not recommend it. It has some very major flaws that make it unplayable, in my opinion. You see me play it though, the first one.
Yeah, I think you streamed it.
Yeah, ages ago.
But yeah, for the combat system, no, I do like the materia system so far, but as I said, I haven't really. I mean, I know the stuff you can put on to basically make.
Trust me, I'll show you some broken combos over the course of this game, and in the end game, I'll show you some ridiculous ones against the secret bosses, the ruby weapon and the emerald weapon, just to show them off. I think because you need those to win those fights. And that's kind of those are kind of the only fights in the game that you need them for, because the game really isn't that difficult. Although I will say it's fairly well balanced for like a casual audience. The thing I've been most impressed of actually is battles give you a reasonable amount of gil, and there's enough enemies to steal useful stuff to warrant stealing. That's not the case in most Final Fantasy games.
Interesting, because like every time I see you try to steal, it's like unable to steal.
Yeah, well, the rate is too low, but that aside, I'm sure when I level it up and I get Mug, I can just attack and steal at the same time from all enemies, which you can do in this game. So I'm going to be doing that later, so it won't be an issue. In fact, I'll just try to kill them normally, and then if it steals, that's just icing on the cake.
Yeah, that works. I remember one thing is that regen is basically too powerful. Because it works even during animations.
Oh, yeah. In this game?
Yeah, in Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah, I don't remember. I will be getting something that gives you regen. After I get the manipulate materia, after Gold Saucer. I'll be getting Midgar, which gives you regen, I think. Well, no, it doesn't give you regen. It gives you haste, barrier, and M barrier.
I'm pretty sure regen is on the
yeah.
Restore.
Yeah, I think it's the level 2 thing you get from it. Which, yeah, once I level it up. Yep. Okay. Any parting thoughts? And we'll reconvene after I finish Disc 1. So we'll have a lot more to talk about then.
I mean, Final Fantasy 7 is probably not the game I would play myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't have the nostalgia for it.
Okay.
Like even though I do like 8 and much, I haven't really played that one either again. I've played it like twice, I think.
Yeah, I played it one time, and then I was done with it.
But like 9, I played like 3 or 4 times, at least.
Yeah, I need to finish 9. I played the first 3 discs.
Yeah, I mean, it has problems, but I do like it. But yeah, so... But like, having a playlist on and watching people play, it's, it's also fun. And I actually do that a lot for games that I really don't want to play myself.
Yeah, makes sense.
I might look at someone who's playing something for blind for the first time or something, just, So that's but yeah, I'm really looking forward to see what Shinra's gonna be doing. I'm more interested in Shinra actually than the main characters, which is interesting. Because Shinra seems to be the smart party around here.
We'll see if that lasts.
Yeah, it's like that last part when you infiltrated their headquarters. That felt like Shinra kind of dropped the ball.
Well, it's very movie logic. Like, you get thrown in prison, and I mean, at least it makes sense. Like, it was somebody else. It wasn't like just happenstance. And it makes a lot more sense later on when you think about this game is fairly complex. I'm just gonna put it that way for now.
Yeah, I mean that didn't bother me. It's like when they assaulted the headquarters. Like there was really no guards, really.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they should have known that Barrett would attack them. I mean, of course, they were able to stop them eventually, but it should have locked the doors or something, I mean, that could be interesting. If you do enough against Shinra till they really hate you, then they lock the door at the top of the stairs and you have to run all the way down and go to the main gate. That would have been evil.
Yeah, so I didn't do it in the playthrough, but I took the stairs, and they actually have lines for if you go back down the stairs, but I didn't want to do it. You can look it up on YouTube.
Also, I don't know what's on floor 59 because you never went to floor 59.
Yeah, well, it's the last floor of the stairs going up, I think.
I need to look it up because now
It's gonna drive you crazy.
Yeah, it's like
I'm gonna be more thorough the next time around. So for the next time, let's try something a little different. How about you? As I'm playing the Let's Play, like I'm the type of person who I'll come up with a question usually. So how about you come up with a list of questions maybe to ask me? And if any of my subscribers have questions for me, just ask, and I'm more than happy to discuss them. That's why I do this. Because typically, even if I have nerdy friends in real life, they haven't played the same stuff I have. So that's kind of the general intent behind the channel.
So, Crit, do you mean for what's happening in the game, or your thoughts about things, or just
any of that?
Whatever, basically.
Yeah, any of that.
Yeah, I think that could be interesting.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting. I could try to come up with questions for the audience, I guess. We'll see. This format will probably evolve over time. Okay, well, I'm Shonen MC, and I'll see y'all in the next one.